I was had your boy Rico from RicoScores, and it's time to talk about it. ESPN came out with an article a few days ago ranking the top head coaching openings in the NFL. They ranked their top 10. Now, spoiler alert, we are in the top 10, but we got to discuss where we are and who we're ahead of, but also who we're behind and why. They give the pros and cons, and then I'm also going to give my own pros that I feel like ESPN didn't consider, and basically make my case as to why we should be higher in the rankings than where they placed us. We aren't dead last, but boy, we got to take a look at that. And I also bring up some points of how we can improve as well. Some of the pros I present to prove that our case should be higher are things that are already there, but I also provide some insight on where we can improve to even potentially for ESPN to even look at us a little bit differently in the future. So we're going to dive into all that. And of course, I also have an injury update as well because we play the Jets tomorrow. Well, most of y'all are probably watching this on Christmas Eve, as in Sunday, so today for some of y'all. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Again, I have so many video ideas I'm working on for everybody, but also some for channel members only. So if you're not one, go become one, because we're about to have a lot of fun in this offseason. Mock drafts, film sessions, everything. So make sure you stay tuned. I mean, there's literally like no excuse for me not to make a video every single day because there's always something to talk about. I mean, just on my computer alone, I have so many different windows of videos. So make sure y'all stay tuned. I'm just telling you that there's a lot on the way. So let's go ahead and get to this video specifically. Let's get it.
He's our quarterback for the 5-10 years, and I truly believe that.
All right, so Bill Barnwell of ESPN, and you have to have an ESPN Plus subscription to even be able to see this type of exclusive content. I do, but I've had that for a long time. I just like being able to have access to everything. Bleacher Report, Pro Football Focus. I'm just one of those people. I mean, when it comes to my Georgia Bulldogs, I'm on Dogs HQ, 247 Sports. I'm literally everywhere, and a couple of other places. My boy at Film God Network, Brooks Austin over there, he's probably my favorite. I'm like just one of those people. I'm always going to dive into people's patrons and stuff like that. So I have this ESPN Plus account. This is not like me just taking it from some Reddit thread or something. And when Bill Barnwell put this out, I was like, interesting. This may be something we need to talk about. So I saw this when he put it out December 14th, like originally way long ago. But I was like, you know what? There's other things that are more important. And so before we dive into this Jets game, which is not going to be good, I already did a slight preview with my video from the day before yesterday, and I just felt like this was a good time to talk about it. Once we get a lot of the priority things out the way, let's go ahead and get to it though, before I continue and go on a whole nother tangent. But either way, first place, they have the Chicago Bears. After that, they have the Los Angeles Chargers, and I'm really surprised by that because, I mean, yeah, a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert, but a lot of their best players are aging stars. A lot of them's contracts coming up. A lot of them are definitely on the lower end of their prime, if they're still even in their prime. A lot of injury-ridden players that are constantly hurt. I mean, they're lacking so many starters right now, and this is kind of like a thing that always tends to happen for them. I mean, the way that they just folded in the playoffs last year to the Jaguars, and on top of all of that, they are $40 million over the cap for 2024 right now. So with them already having contracts that are leaving for a lot of the better players, a lot of the better players again are older, so new management may come in, not even want to keep them at all, and just want to start over fresh with newer, younger guys. They are currently $40 million over the cap. So I understand they must literally only be number 2 because of the starting quarterback. Let me actually look at it. They say for pros, franchise quarterback, top in talent on both sides of the ball and location. I give them location, I give them franchise quarterback, and yeah, technically top end talent on both sides of the ball, but again, for the reasons I've already given you, I don't know. Chicago Bears, let's actually go back to them. The pros for them: draft capital, access to potential star quarterback with their top draft pick from the Panthers, and a young roster. I could give them that. Third are the Atlanta Falcons. Very surprised by that. As an Atlanta Falcons hater, that's also really objective when it comes to them. I don't really see it. Patient ownership, young talent, and subpar division. I'll give them those three things. But at the same time, I don't really see those three things as being enough of a positive for them to be able to work with. Because, I mean, who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback? Maybe they trade for Justin Fields if the Bears do want to draft their own guy. Then number 4, the Jets. Defense, veteran quarterback, and immediate chance of success. I can give them that. I I mean, the fact that defense just is itself, not young defense, not defensive talent, just straight defense is one of the points. I can see that. Number 5, the New England Patriots. I guess I don't really see that. Draft capital, yeah. Potential path to quarterback, yeah, they will have that. Right now they're the number 3 pick in the draft. We're number 4. But if we lose to the Jets and the Patriots and Cardinals win, we can move up to number 2. We can move up ahead of both of those teams. But yeah, potential path to a quarterback. Defense, and not the Jets, but yeah, there's some pieces there. And then stable ownership. I can give them that, okay. 6, still not us. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Talent on both sides of the ball. Yeah. No state income tax. Give them that. An easy division. I give them that. That's come up. Any team that's in the NFC South, that the division comes up in the pros. I give them that. And then now you finally have us 7. We're going to dive into us, but to continue, who are we ahead of? We're ahead of the Saints. Again, weak division is one of the pros. Also, big names on roster. I guess I can give them that. They have some talent. Las Vegas Raiders, their only pro is no income tax. That's literally it. I mean, even though Antonio Pierce is doing this thing over there, if they want to end up keeping him, we'll see. And then last are the Carolina Panthers at 10. A young defensive talent is their pros. So, I mean, but that's even if you re-sign a Brian Burns. They have a few other guys on that team, even if Brian Burns leaves, though. And then weak division. I can definitely see that again with the NFC South. All 4, that tells you what you need to know. All 4 NFC South teams are in this top 10 head coaching openings. And the fact that all 4 of these NFC South teams have NFL head coaching openings just in general lets you know that the division is weak. There's not one team on there that doesn't potentially have a head coach opening coming, where their head coach is on the verge of getting fired. That lets you everything you need to know about weak division and the fact that that's a pro for all 4 of those teams in this top 10. Also, leverage for a longer deal, which is interesting because the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper, as terrible of an owner as he is, he did give Matt Rule that 7-year, over $60 million deal a couple of years ago, even though they ended up firing him and things like that. You know, at least he's shown you that he's willing to pay up big money for a head coach if you at least job interview well. You may not be competent, but as long as you do a really good interview and sell him on a dream, you can get big money. Matt Rule's still getting a lot of that money right now, and he's not even coaching for the Carolina Panthers anymore. That boy over there in college doing his thing. But going back to the Commanders, let's take a look at what they say. So let's just start with the pros and cons. I didn't even give y'all the cons for the other teams because I feel like this is more of a Commanders thing. If y'all want me to, maybe we could do a separate video on that. But just to focus on the Commanders. Pros, they say halo effect from new ownership. That's an interesting way of wording that. But basically, new ownership coming in. Josh Harris seems like a great guy. Seems like he has the ability to hire the right guys. I love Eugene Shin. I love Tim McGrath. I absolutely love both of those hires. I feel like y'all will truly see the benefit and the fruits of those hires very soon. Low expectations, interesting. I don't know why nobody else has that as their pro. Why are we the only team with low expectations? And I don't really even see that as a pro, but I guess if you're a head coach, I guess so. But if I'm a head coach and I win now, low expectations doesn't really make me feel better. If anything, that just sounds like y'all are willing to accept mediocrity. Like, I don't have to put in that extra effort, those extra hours every night and things like that, working overtime and stuff like that. Because when in doubt, if we don't win, cool. First of all, I also don't agree with that. I think Josh Harris has very high expectations coming in. And then also draft capital, which I completely agree with. That's definitely a pro. Now when it comes to the cons, subpar facilities, I agree, but hopefully we're working on that. Josh Harris has already said that he's working on that a lot. I'm working on a video for that as well. Lack of star talent at key positions, I can kind of see that, especially with Jonathan Allen potentially being on the trade block. He even said it himself that he's thought about getting traded, and maybe he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild, so maybe he's like, oh yeah, if I'm a good player, let me go ahead and head to a contender. So even with the talent that we do have, maybe some of those guys are leaving. First of all, we have a lot of unrestricted free agents. I've already run down this for y'all in several videos, but just real quick, your most efficient receiver this year in Curtis Samuel. Easily the most efficient in whatever Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell got going on. Curtis Samuel has been the most efficient. Your starting corner right now, Kendall Fuller, the safest corner you have, because Benjamin St. Juste makes good plays, but he gets burnt. Emmanuel Forbes only had 6 snaps last week. Quan Martin is trying to step up as a second-round pick, but we didn't even draft him to be an outside corner. So Kendall Fuller, unrestricted free agent. Your backup quarterback that came in and made the offense finally look like it was worth anything. Unrestricted free agent, more than likely won't come back. Your 3 starting linebackers with Jamin Davis currently on IR. We'll see how long he ends up on IR. Will he even be ready for week 1? I think he will be. I don't think his injury is that serious, but with Jamin Davis currently on IR, your 3 starting linebackers are Cody Barton, Khaleke Hudson, and David Mayo, all 3 of which are unrestricted free agents. We more than likely won't bring back all 3 of them, and it's quite even likely that we may not bring back any of them. They may just want to do a complete revamp of everything, but I at least want to bring back Khaleke Hudson. And then all of your edge rushers, after you traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat, your starters are Casey Toohill and James Smith-Williams, and F.L. Bada before he went to IR, but he's on IR, and those other guys I named are all unrestricted free agents as well. So all your starting edge rushers, gone. We still got to re-sign Cameron Curl. We got to re-sign Antonio Gibson. One of your headed monsters in your 2-headed monster running back room with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson there. Your starting center, Tyler Larson, after Nick Gates sucked. We'll see what happens with Ricky Strongberg, but he's on IR. Your franchise kicker in Joey Sly, and I hope your franchise punt returner in Jamison Crowder. Also, your all-pro special teamer and Jeremy Reeves. So even special teams wise, it's not looking good. Sadiq Charles was your starting left guard until he got hurt, and then Chris Paul took over, and now he's pretty much come back in and is in a rotation with Chris Paul. But it seems like he's really, if anything, our starting left guard right now over Chris Paul. So and that's just the start. We still have more names than that on the list, but I just wanted to give y'all some of the most significant names, because to their point, lack of talent at star key positions. Like if we're talking about if we retain everybody, I disagree. But we have so many unrestricted free agents and guys that we may potentially trade away to contenders to get more draft capital. I can agree if you're looking as far as into the future, but as of today, I don't think we lack as that much talent for them to not bring that up as a con for other teams on this list. I don't know why ours got brought up for lack of talent. Everybody else has a lack of talent too. That's why they're losing games. I can understand the Bears. Yeah, you have a lot of talent to work with. The Jets, a lot of skill position talent, a lot of defensive talent as well. But some of these teams up here, for you not to include them, but to say we had lack talent in comparison, I don't really agree there. And then also a need to rebuild the culture, which I can kind of see, but I don't really think it's that bad. I don't think we just have mutiny aboard. I don't think our franchise is just anarchy like when Dan Snyder was here. So I kind of push back on that a little bit as well. I would definitely rank us higher than 7. I think we're top 3 in my opinion. But let's give them a chance. Let's see what they say about us. They said what has happened in Washington isn't really Ron Rivera's fault. I would disagree there. I mean, a lot of it isn't his fault, but there is a lot that actually is his fault. Don't just completely absolve him of any blame like that. Don't do that, ESPN. So we already starting off on the wrong foot. You're already lying. But somebody else is probably going to be the one attempting to solve that issue that has vexed everyone short of Joe Gibbs for 30 years. How do the Commanders build a consistent winner? They haven't won a playoff game since 2005. Oh my Lord. Wasn't even 10 years old yet. Advanced out of the divisional round since Gibbs won his last Super Bowl in 1992. I wasn't even alive. One big difference is the next head coach won't be beginning his tenure under owner Daniel Snyder. Thank you for pointing that out. That's a huge difference. That should boost us up from 7 to 3 just off of the fact that Josh Harris, the difference between Dan Snyder and Josh Harris is incredible, and how we managed to at least stay afloat. Like, we have been bad for a long time, but we have rarely felt like the worst team in the NFL, and to do that in spite of Dan Snyder dominating everything on and off the field, calling in draft picks from his yacht for guys he didn't even watch tape on. The fact that in spite of all of that, we've never truly just felt like the worst team in the NFL at any point in time, really until this year. Like the last few weeks, it's kind of felt like it, but we're still not worse than the Patriots because we beat the Patriots. So in spite of all of that, I feel like Dan Snyder gone, Josh Harris here, them being night and day difference, I feel like we deserve a lot more credit for that, because I just feel like under Dan Snyder to not be the worst team in the NFL over and over again is incredible in itself. The bad free agency hires, giving the wrong people the biggest amount of money possible. I mean, I feel like we've overcame expectations with what we were given. Harris has famously hired Sam Hinkie and embarked on what has become known as the process to the studs rebuild that eventually yielded Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons a bed after Hinkie resigned from the team in 2016. There's no guarantee that the Commanders will tank or embark on a similar sort of meandering rebuild, but at the very least, Harris was willing to sign off on an extensive rebuild that was going to take multiple seasons. They have a few talented players, but they're not one quarterback and one draft away for competing from a Super Bowl. Any coach or general manager who comes here is going to be both pitching and operating on a long-term timeline for success. I don't feel like it has to be that long, dog, especially with the draft capital we have and the cap space that we have. I feel like that's not being acknowledged enough by this article right here. While the Commanders aren't as full of talent as other teams in this article, they don't have the sort of players that the vast majority of teams around the league are built around. The most expensive positions to fill are quarterback, edge rusher, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and cornerback. Washington is Terry McLaurin, wide receiver, and the duo of Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne at defensive tackle. But all three are already on second contracts and likely to be approaching or in their 30s by the time there's meaningful help around them. A decent point. I can kind of see that. Those guys are getting up there, and I mean, they still have room to improve and get better, but we don't have long. We got to get it going now. If you're envisioning the Commanders winning a Super Bowl with the Commanders and things like that, if you're envisioning Jonathan Allen holding up that trophy, we better get on it a little bit sooner than what people may think we have. With apologies to what has been a high-octane year for sophomore quarterback Sam Howell, the Commanders don't have much to be excited about at other positions. The jury is still out on rookie first-round pick Emmanuel Forbes, and that's to say it positively, because most of the fan base is already done with him and didn't even want him once we drafted him. So, I mean, ESPN at the very least is pretty optimistic in that view, and they need to start hitting on draft picks at positions they'll have trouble filling in free agency. And I agree there. I mean, honestly, for agency, we got to go edge rusher, linebacker, and maybe even offensive line if you don't plan on going defensive line in the first round. We got to. They'll have extra second and third round picks from the trades that they made at the deadline involving Montez Sweat and Chase Young, which will help. If they end up with a pick that has significant trade value for one of the teams wanting to add quarterback, the Commanders will need to give that deal serious thought. So if they choose to go with Sam Howell as a franchise quarterback and you want to trade out of potentially a top 4 if we lose to the Jets, maybe even a top 2 pick, boy, we could hold that pick for ransom and get several first round picks, and we could be cooking with fish grease, man, moving forward, man. Cutting ties with one of the last remnants of the Snyder regime will buy the new coach some time. But this is also going to be a job where the public-facing executives running things are going to need to be friendlier and more open than usual. The new regime is going to need to do whatever possible to reignite the passion of lapsed Commanders fans and for the next couple of years. It won't be the quality of the play of the field or the comfort of the stadium. If you pay attention to coaching news conferences around the league, you'll see that openness and warmth aren't exactly qualities some coaches care to exude. Really interesting article. Again, I don't feel like they give us enough credit. I really don't. But let's talk about how we can improve, and also let's talk about some factors that ESPN didn't consider and why. Again, I've already explained some things while we were reading the article bit by bit, but I want to just go deeper into why this situation is better than 7th in head coaching vacancies. I think we're top 3, and I think there's an argument that we could be number 1 depending on how you want to look at things. Well, first of all, we got to hit on hiring a GM to work for the head coach to work under. I think GM is probably one of the most important things we have to do this offseason. Getting a quarterback is great. Yes, let's make sure we do that. Let's address offensive line. Let's hire a head coach. Let's get a defensive coordinator, all of that type of stuff. But number 1 on the list is we got to hit on GM. If we had to pick one thing to hit on, it has to be GM, because I feel like everything else is going to fall into place after that. We hire the right GM, we're going to get the right head coach. Even though as much as I love Ben Johnson, if we hit on the right GM and he doesn't want Ben Johnson, I'm just going to trust in what he believes in and believe in the guy that he brings in. So we got to hit on GM. That's how much GM matters. It matters more than head coach. It matters more than any other decision we have to make in this offseason. I love bringing in Eugene Shin. I think he's going to have an impact on who the GM is, and I like that. That has me even more optimistic about the situation. But GM matters. So if we hit on GM, which I think we will, because Josh Harris is not playing about being innovative, about being very analytical, analytics based, about going for the guy that's always a step ahead of the NFL. Let's be ahead of the curve and things like that. I'm very optimistic about who our GM will be. We got to see what time will tell. But I think the head coach should like potentially what GM Josh Harris and those guys hire. And I feel like with Josh Harris going to that GM summit where owners and potential GMs, it was like 42 GM candidates there, a lot of the top guys that a lot of us fan bases want, and the fact that there were reports coming from there, from everybody who was there, that said that David Tepper over there for the Panthers, Mr. Dysfunctional himself, versus Josh Harris, who was also arguably the most active and engaging owner over there at the summit. So they made the biggest impressions. And if you're if it's Josh Harris versus David Tepper for any category, for anything, I like our chances to pull the best guy, because Josh Harris compared to David Tepper, you just can't get much worse than David Tepper. He's trying to become the new Dan Snyder, at the very least on the field wise. I don't know about off the field. It's hard to keep up with Dan Snyder as far as being a terrible human being off the field. But on the field wise, David Tepper is looking like the next guy. Him and Jim Irsay are battling it out right now. So if Josh Harris and David Tepper are the best at something, everybody has to be looking at Josh Harris like he has to be number one, right? I'm just assuming he wins that. So I'm really excited about that, man. I mean, it's literally like, I don't know if y'all seen that Max B video where he was, talking trash about Jim Jones. He was like, I mean, just listen to it. Max Bigavel, Jim Jones. It's just so, it's like Josh Harris, next amazing owner. You don't got to worry about somebody telling you how to dictate your offense and things like that. David Tepper. Like, it just sound better with the Josh Harris, man. I think we should be straight there, man. Also, Josh Harris has shown that, one of the very few positives to a David Tepper is that he's willing to pay that big bag to make whatever need to work just by the deal from that he gave the Matt Rule. Josh Harris is also willing to pay big money. He has one of the highest paid coaching staffs in each of his respective professional sports organizations, for hockey and NBA. Like, he will give up that bag as long as you deserve it. If you are a top tier coach at what you do, if you're top tier, anything that you do, he's giving out that money. The fact that we hire Eugene Shin to basically come in and do something that most NFL teams don't have. And again, I did a whole breakdown on who Eugene Shin is, but all you need to know is that he contributed to how good the Ravens are now, the Dolphins are now, and the Jaguars. Before he got there, those teams were struggling a little. After he left, they're great. And the Ravens even said recently that they still use a lot of his analytics models when it comes to a lot of the decision making they make, things that they do even while he's been gone. And if you notice, the Dolphins are number one in their division. I believe still, they're at the very least one of the top two in the division. I believe the Ravens are still number one in their division, and I believe the Jaguars are also still number one in their division. I believe at the very least, a couple of weeks ago, they were all number one in their division, which shows that Eugene Shin, when he's gone to a program and left, they've become better. They've benefited from it. And the fact that Josh Harris is willing to go out there and buy a guy like that, again, this is not just a typical, it's not like every team has a Eugene Shin. Josh Harris was like, I don't care what other teams do. Whatever gives me the best chance to win, let's do it. He's willing to pay that money. Tim McGrath is coming here to be, again, another title that most other teams, I don't think any other team has a Tim McGrath in their organization. And I did a whole video breakdown on what he's here to do as far as preventing injuries and things like that, and injury research and rehab and stuff like that. He's not even like coming over to be the head athletic trainer or anything. Like, he's literally just coming here to basically be a consultant. Again, a job title that I don't think any other NFL team has. So Josh Harris has shown that he is not going to be skimpy or stingy on the money. Whatever it takes to win, he's going to do that. And a head coach has to love that. I feel like the ESPN article did not give him enough credit for that. They gave David Tepper credit for willing to spend big money on us, but they didn't give Josh Harris the credit. And also, I feel like one of the cons is also a positive. The fact that we are so bad, a head coach would get a lot of credit if everything works out. Just picture it. It would be a great resume improver for everybody involved. Like, ooh, you took that team, that burgundy and gold team that hopefully by the end of the season, 4 wins, top 2 pick team, and got them playoff bound that quickly? You led the burgundy and gold to their first 11-win season since 1991? Come on, dog. And just to let you know, we're the only team in the NFL that hasn't had an 11-win season since the last time we did it in 1991, which, arguably makes us the only not great team in the NFL in that span. But yeah, one of the cons about us being so bad is also a positive. You got to look at it as everybody doubts the Commanders. Everybody thinks we're just so bad and just so hopeless. If you come in with all these great things that I presented, a lot of people are going to overlook those great things until we start winning. Then when we start winning, suddenly, oh yeah, well, we should have seen it coming. They had all of these draft picks, they had all of this cap space, but they're not giving us credit for that right now, per usual. But either way, everybody's looking at us like hopeless, and if you come in as a head coach and start winning with us, especially like soon, like within the first 2 years, 2 years, you're gonna get a lot of credit. Everybody's gonna look at you like you just pulled a rabbit out of the hat or something like that. You just made magic or something. Also, another pro that I feel like a lot of people aren't getting credit for in this burgundy and gold organization is that you have the opportunity to be the face of a new franchise. Potentially new name, new all of that. You know, I'm not worried about that right now. But not only just a new franchise, a fresh franchise, because we've only been in Commanders for a couple of years. We don't have much history as the Commanders, but also a new stadium. First of all, Josh Harris is also doing everything that he can to rebuild what's currently at FedEx Field to make that a better experience. So we don't have the worst stadium, the worst facilities doing it like everybody's been complaining about us having, most notably free agents, which is why we haven't been a great free agency destination. As y'all remember, what was it, last year or this past offseason? I don't remember exactly when it was. I feel like it was ages ago, but I think it was within the past year. I think it was this past free agency period where we were voted dead last in NFL in free agency destinations by NFL players. They like literally asked every NFL player out there. I believe that's how the survey went. It wasn't even anonymous. Like, it's literally ask everybody, and we're gonna take in the votes and tally everything. We were dead last because of our facilities, because of how we treated players' families, a whole bunch of stuff that's like, man, we can fix that. Josh Harris has the money, time, and the attitude. Like, he wants to change all of that. We can. So those cons that exist won't exist anymore. But I went on a tangent. But my point is that not only is there an old stadium that's going to be improved, which is going to help the experience, but also there's going to be a new stadium, and you can be the face of that. I don't think people understand how much potentially being the face of a movement, to be the pioneer of it, you get a lot of credit for that. Like, he could be immortalized in the DMV, dog. Like, you could become legendary status in what should be a top market. Because of the basketball team and the NFL team not being too good, a lot of people forget that the DMV should be up there with Chicago, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, New York, LA. It should literally be up there, and if anything, above a couple of those names I put up there. Honestly should. Like, DC itself should be a top 3, top 5 at worst market. But it just doesn't really feel like it. But if you come here and you start winning, oh, it will definitely feel like it. And again, you can be immortalized. You could be one of those coaches just like Joe Gibbs where you can't do anything wrong. You could, if you take this burgundy and gold, new stadium, new regime under Josh Harris, Eugene Shen, and all of these guys, and take us to being a competitive team, you boy, we will never forget you. We could be 40 years down the line, the year 2060, we're still gonna be talking about you. I'm telling you, if you ever need food, anywhere to sleep, people in the DMV will be willing to give you whatever you want. You come here and win. It's that type of fan base, and it's not only just that type of fan base, it's also just we've been losing so long, we're just ready to just grab onto any success. And if you lead us to that success, it could be huge. And to add to that point, again, this fan base is a sleeping giant, man. Like, with the market and everything and how global we are, we're going to get to the global part soon. But just think about Bill Belichick in the New England area right now, or how Joe Gibbs is, again, in the DMV. There's no head coach at all that you have to steal the hearts of fans from like you would with like a Bill Belichick right now. Like, Joe Gibbs is so long ago. There's nothing recent that you're having to steal fans from that we're upset that like, if the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin right now, that next head coach is going to be going through it. Because I know some people want Mike Tomlin gone, but there's going to be a lot of Steelers fans that are just ready to boo that next guy if they don't come in and look like how Mike Tomlin looked at his greatest. They're not even going to judge that head coach or how Mike Tomlin has looked this year. They're going to judge him on how Mike Tomlin looked at his best. And the next head coach that comes here will not have to deal with any of that at all. Now, you just got to gain everybody's trust and prove that you're not the next letdown like a lot of these previous head coaches have been a bit. But hey, man, I'm telling you, you will be huge. And not only in the DMV area, let's get to the global part, man. I mean, I'm from Atlanta. I can tell you, man, the DMV and just the burgundy and gold nation period is everywhere. Like, Atlanta, we are deep. Every UK, Germany, Brazil, name it, Australia, we are everywhere. This is one of those sleeping giant fan bases that once we actually start winning and we're competitive, oh, you'll feel it. I mean, week 1, Josh Harris came in here, and we didn't even have much new going on. We had Eric Bieniemy, Sam Howell, Josh Harris. That was, with no proven winning, was enough to sell out the stadium in the first game of the season at FedEx Field. That was enough. No proven, like, this fan base is so ready to grab on to the next great thing. So all you got to do here is be great, and boy, you're going to have a dominant fan base behind you. It doesn't feel like it, but the Commanders have the potential to be a top 5, at very worst, top 10 fan base in the NFL. We are literally everywhere. You can't go any state, really any city, without there being a Burgundy and Gold fan. They may be in hiding. The jersey may be hidden under their skin. But hey, everybody's going to be loud and proud when we start winning. I'm telling you that right now. It's going to be like, man, where do all these Burgundy and Gold fans come from to other fan bases? We've been here. We've just been a little quiet, man. It hasn't been much to celebrate about or really talk about. Now, moving on, before we get up out of here, let me give y'all some interesting injury updates for this upcoming Jets game. First of all, our starting center, technically, and Tyler Larson is out, even though he's kind of a backup, but he's our starting center because Nick Gates has been so bad. Charles Leno, your starting left tackle, is out. A lot of people would say, hey, that's a good thing. Brian Robinson, though, hamstring injury, is out. The only positive to that, the only silver lining I can give you there, is that Antonio Gibson, Chris Rodriguez will get more opportunities to show what they can do for the next regime. Percy Butler with an illness is also questionable. A lot of people will probably say that's a good thing as well. But again, I'm in the mode where I want to see as many young guys out there playing as possible. We cut Danny Johnson so Kiyu Blue Kelly can come out and Quan Martin can play more often. We need to start playing. Emmanuel Forbes should never go another game with only 6 snaps. I don't care what's going on. Play him. The goal is not to win. The goal is to evaluate what we have and to develop a lot of these younger guys, but really develop everybody. The more they play, the better they'll get, or at the very least, the more teaching tape they'll have to watch in the offseason to get better. So there's no reason not to play the young guys as much as possible. Emmanuel Forbes playing 6 snaps was probably the most in this whole Rivera era that I've just wanted him fired immediately. That made 0 sense at all. But with Tyler Larson out, Nick Gates will start at center, which if you want a high draft pick, that increases our chances there. And then Cornelius Lucas will start at left tackle, which again, a lot of people prefer him over Charles Leno and felt like he should have been starting to begin with Charles Leno healthy. Also, the Commanders have announced the signing of running back Derek Gore from the practice squad. He was with us all off season, and he looked pretty good at times, but I believe he did fumble in a couple of practices. But with Brian Robinson out and Jonathan Williams is in concussion protocol, our running backs will be Antonio Gibson, Chris Rodriguez, the 6th-round rookie, and Derek Gore, who came from the Kansas City Chiefs with Eric Bieniemy to the Commanders. Also, James Smith-Williams will finally start. He's missed the past few games, so there you go. You're starting the edge rusher along with Casey Tuhill. But again, for reasons I've already stated, KJ Henry should be started. I don't care who it's over. I don't care how much James Smith-Williams or Casey Tuhill play. It does not matter to me. I don't care if they don't play at all. I want KJ Henry and Andre Jones out there as much as possible. Let's get the young guys out there. Also, Commanders elevated long snapper Tucker Addington and center guard Nolan Laufenberg from the practice squad. So that sounds like there's your long snapper right there after we fired Cameron Cheeseman. I'm assuming we held some type of tryouts or anything like that, some type of long snapper competition, and he's the one that won. The reason I'm not too sure about him, though, is that if he's been on the practice squad this long and we've been watching him practice, is there any particular reason he hasn't replaced Cameron Cheeseman way before this Rams game? Like, is there any particular reason so it's just like, is he even that good? If Cameron Cheeseman has been this bad, not only all season, but even in the preseason, he was messing up his snaps. How bad is Tucker Addington for him not to be just simply there like, oh, we got to find somebody else. Here's this guy right here. So I'm not even too confident in him because I feel like if he was that good, he would have replaced Cameron Cheeseman as our starting long snapper a long time ago. But we'll see. Again, right now, we're just holding season tryouts, in-season tryouts. Why not? Because the goal is not to win. The goal is to evaluate and develop for the future of this franchise. Right now, winning right now is only a now thing. We need to be focused on the future of this franchise and what is our best route and quickest route to get into a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl as soon as possible. And those are the things that get you closer to that. Also, before we get up out of here, more Bill Belichick to the Commanders rumors going around. No trustworthy source, which is why I'm not doing an entire video on it. But I felt like it needed to be mentioned. A lot of people out there are talking about it. Tom Kelly from Sports Illustrated brought it up. A couple other people are bringing it up. So you never know. Where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire. But I really, really, really hope it's not true. Just wanted to warn y'all, though. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. I really appreciate y'all, man. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything I talked about. How do you feel about ESPN ranking us as the 7th best head coaching opening right now? Because I disagree. I think we're higher than that. But let me know if you agree with them and disagree with me, or if you agree with me and disagree with them. Also, let me know how you feel about all of the points I brought up as to why we should be higher on that list, and also how we can improve on that list. Also, if there are any points that I brought up that I didn't mention that you thought of, let me know, because you may make me a smarter Commanders fan. So let me know if you disagree with me, whatever, please. And also on the way out, please leave a like, leave a comment, even if it's something as simple as like a flame emoji, because that level of engagement on the channel helps so much. So I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I will be live streaming this upcoming Jets game. I don't know why, but at the very least, though, I love watching the games with y'all, because if I had to watch it by myself, I wouldn't watch it at all. So, hey, man, make sure y'all pull up 1 p.m. versus the Jets. Let's get it. Catch y'all later. I'm out.